Hello, in this one we're going to go over saved or stored credentials and RUNAS and how to use those found credentials to escalate your privileges on a Windows machine. So quickly, what are saved and stored credentials? So stored credentials basically allow a user to run commands as another, or for a system service to run specific commands. This is usually for delegating permissions. So for instance, system admins will use stored credentials to allow maybe a less or authenticated user to perform a command as them using their password. That's the base sort of premise of it. So the way you check if these exist on a machine is by command cmd key/list, which I'm going to show in a minute. So as you can see, I've just run the cmd key/list command on my machine. WinPs and other automated scripts will also try and run this. Sometimes it doesn't work, so it's always good to check it yourself. As you can see on my machine, there's a lot of them, so services use these, single sign-on uses this as well. On some CTF site boxes, you might get things on here that'd be like, oh, a domain password, and basically that's saying, or sorry, on the type it'll say domain password or some sort of password. That's basically the secret key for that account, so it's accessible to you. So if you see that, then how to exploit this would be, let's say, obviously these are blurred out so you can't see them, but let's say the type is a domain password and then the user is admin. In order to exploit that, we would just use runas/savecred. That's telling this utility to use save credentials. We're specifying the user we want to execute this command as. In this case, if it was admin, we'd put admin and then the command we want to run. In theory, this all working out, it would spawn an administrative PowerShell. Very quickly as well, run as CS. So this is a PowerShell or a binary utility which allows commands to be executed as other users. This is really good if for whatever reason you can't escalate, or you can only have one instance on a machine, or if you're already on a machine like maybe a red team scenario, things like that, and you want to authenticate as a different user. If you've got that user's credentials, and you need to, let's say if you want to check if it is theirs without being, so if you're already on the machine, you don't want to make another network request, maybe again you're in a red team scenario or it's going to be too loud, drop this binary on and then see if you can authenticate as that user. I'm going to be showing this in a second as well, so you can get an example of it. There's a GitHub link to the actual script that I use. It's PowerShell utility. I'm going to be linking that in the description. And as I've already said, it's useful for system access, might be limited, or to move laterally onto another user account. So ideally, you'd use this anytime you have found credentials on a machine. You'd see if you can authenticate via those credentials. So let's say you're as a low-level user and you somehow find an administrator password, you can use this script to then maybe spawn a netcat shell as the administrator. So here's a quick example of how you would use the RunAsCS script. So you can do this with the binary, it's pretty much the same except you're just not using PowerShell. This is just showing how with PowerShell, if you found some credentials, you potentially escalate. Now, this is the password for the same user, but it would work exactly the same if you had a password for another user. Some of this is blurred out just because it is not a public machine, so some of this information has been hidden. But again, works exactly the same. If you're on a machine, you found credentials, you just want to check, oh, can I do anything as this user on this machine? Let's say this user doesn't have, let's say a user doesn't have access to any of the machines on the network. Potentially still got access to this machine and their administrator. So this is how you would move laterally to that account, and potentially from there you can move from the account that you've just found.